Tonight, former North Little Rock police officer Tommy Norman now knows when he'll stand trial to answer to domestic violence charges brought against him last month. Thanks for joining us at 6. I'm Rolly Hoyt.
And I'm Faith Woodard. That trial is now scheduled for February 11th and will be the first time we will see him in court since his arrest. He was expected to be there today for a hearing, but was absent. His attorney, however, filed a not guilty plea on his behalf.
His former colleagues arrested him back on September 14th on a charge of third-degree domestic battery. A judge set his bond at $350 the following day. It allowed him to be released while awaiting trial. Following his arrest, he initially went on administrative leave, but then later announced his retirement. It ended nearly 30 years with North Little Rock Police. And according to Norman, it changed his life forever.
It changed my life forever because I've never been on that side of law enforcement. I've never been on the side where my coworkers are sitting next to me, talking to me, gathering statements, and it was an embarrassment.
Yeah.
I know that I embarrassed my family, I embarrassed the community, and now I have a lot of making up to do.
The case marks a sharp turn for Norman throughout his career. He was often recognized for mentoring youth and leading initiatives aimed at fostering trust between police and residents.
Tonight, state police say 3 people have died in a small plane crash in East Arkansas. Searchers found the Cessna here on this map near the small town of Parkin. But according to flight plans, it had planned to go from New Orleans to Jonesboro, with the crash site about 60 miles away from the airport.
Investigators say the plane was reported missing yesterday near the intersection of State Highway 75 and 306 around 3:15 after losing contact with air traffic control. 3 hours later, it was found. FAA and NTSB officials are now investigating the incident.
Just one day after authorities identified the camper killed in a suspected bear attack up in Newton County, we're now learning about another reported bear encounter in Arkansas.
This one from Salt Fork Creek in Franklin County near White Rock Mountain. No one was hurt, but it's adding to concerns about camper and hiker safety. Chris Adams is the maintenance coordinator with Ozark Highlands Trail Association. He says 2 men reported the black bear entered their campsite there over the weekend. They tried to drive it off with rocks, sticks, and loud noises, but Adams says the bear kept coming back. The next morning, the hikers made it to nearby White Rock Mountain and reported what happened. Staff there then called Adams, knowing his crews were working along the trail.
I've been doing maintenance for 20 years. I've actually never seen a bear on a trail. I've seen bears on the road driving, but I've never seen them on a trail. Crews I've been on have seen them, but we make a lot of noise. And for whatever reason, these bears are not scared of noise right now. And so that's puzzling a lot of us.
A bear killed a man in another part of Franklin County 2 months ago, and now authorities are urging campers and hikers to stay alert, make sure their food and trash are secure. And Game of Fish officials are waiting on necropsy results to confirm whether a bear put down in Newton County is responsible for a deadly attack there over last week.
Well, we're awaiting a cool front to move through the region. We've got a few showers out there this evening. That boundary is in northwest Arkansas. It should be moving into central Arkansas a little later in the evening hours. Temperatures got warm today. A few degrees milder than we thought. 82 is the projected high. We made it to 86. It's 82 right now. 78 in Fayetteville. In Harrison at 75. And some of that drier air is finally working through northwest Arkansas. Dew points are still rather high here in the upper 60s and low 70s. Still feels muggy outside. But yeah, we are beginning to feel the air mass dry out. Hour by hour tonight, we'll see those numbers drop off into the middle 60s by tomorrow morning. And your forecast highs for tomorrow, partly sunny skies. Highs only in the middle to upper 70s in central Arkansas. A few low 80s over the southern part of the state. Gets even cooler from there in the overnight hours. I'll have your forecast looking ahead. Arkansas State Fair weekend, as well as certain high school and college football games. I'll have those forecasts coming up shortly.
All right, Tom, thank you. Schools across Arkansas have already locked up cell phones from bell to bell. And more changes could be on the horizon as this morning, Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders and Attorney General Tim Griffin kicked off the state's 2025 Social Media Summit.
Yeah, THV11's Carter Thweed is back from the conference, and he reports on the questions posed by the Attorney General and then answered by the Governor.
An enthusiastic crowd greeting Governor Sarah Sanders on the first day of the state's 2-day Social Media Summit.
I'm a parent. I have a 13-year-old, an 11-year-old, and a 10-year-old. So I'm living this all day, every day.
Sanders discussed what made her and State Senator Tyler Dees want to pass the Bell-to-Bell No Cell Act, which took effect in Arkansas schools this fall.
There was broad support for it, a bipartisan issue, because so many people were experiencing it themselves. This wasn't one of those things that you had to explain to everybody.
Right.
Everybody is living it
Totally.
and seeing it.
Sanders says they've been tracking the success of the program, and since they took phones away, there's been a drop in verbal and physical aggression and an increase in classroom engagement. She and Griffin also discussed lawsuits. The state of Arkansas has sued big tech companies like Meta and TikTok, which Griffin tells me is about keeping kids safe.
We need better protections for young people. We have seen that the protections that they claim to have do not work.
While Griffin is focused on that, he asked the governor what she'd like to tackle next. She says she'd like to work with big tech and content creators to ensure that what's made for adults doesn't make it to the kids.
What that looks like, I think those details are still yet to be written, but I think it's going to have to be a collaborative effort of us working together.
In Little Rock, Carter Thweet, THV 11 News.
Sanders mentioned several other governors on both sides of the aisle that she shared ideas with on kids and phones, people like Republican Spencer Cox of Utah and Democrat Jared Polis of Colorado.
And she also reiterated that she doesn't think phones and social media are all bad for adults.
Well, the summit comes a day after the governor found herself in the middle of a lawsuit filed by a voter in Franklin County looking to shorten the timeline for the special election in the district.
The primary for the vacant state Senate seat there is set for March 3rd, with the general election on June 9th of next year. Plaintiff Colt Shelby argues that would leave District 26 without representation during the upcoming fiscal session. It points to state law that requires special election to be held within 150 days of a vacancy if it can be done without being too much of an inconvenience.
If nobody is coming in and going to bat for us, then our voices will not be heard. And that's Johnson County, Logan County, Franklin County, and part of Sebastian County. It's a big area. It's roughly 85,000 people.
The governor's office says the timeline was set to save taxpayer dollars and ensure the election is free, fair, and secure.
Of course, the biggest topic of discussion in that county is the proposed prison. The Sanders administration pushing to build a 3,000-bed facility to relieve overcrowding in local jails across the state. Recently, immigration enforcement officials toured the site purchased by the state. But add the sheriff there to those opposed to it. Johnny Crocker posted a video to social media saying there's no support from any Franklin County leader. He urges prison officials to revisit one of the 4 other counties who've expressed interest in building the prison there.
Well, tonight we're also catching you up on some of the candidates who have announced they will be running for different seats across the state, starting with what might be a familiar name in District 28. That covers counties in northwest Arkansas. Bobby Bollinger will run for that Senate seat against Brian King, who has been very vocal in his opposition on the prison. His dad served in the House and Senate from 2013 to 2023, beating King once and then losing in a runoff in 2022. Bollinger says it wasn't due to cut taxes, or he wants to cut taxes, protect kids, and defend women's sports, secure the border, and is pro-life.
Closer to home in District 70, covering North Little Rock, Sherwood, parts of Faulkner and Perry County, there'll be a special election to fill a vacant seat left by Republican Carlton Wing, and Democrats think this could be a spot to get a flip. They've got 2 members eyeing the spot there in a primary after coming close to winning it the last 3 cycles. Back in 2020, Wing won by just 16 votes out of 14,000 cast, and then last year, Wing held off Democrat Alex Holliday on the left of your screen there by 286 votes. He's running again. This time he'll face Cordelia Smith Johnson in that primary. Meanwhile, right now, Pulaski County leaders reminding everyone about upcoming meetings on how to handle development just outside city limits, where new billboards have stirred controversy.
The county imposed a 6-month moratorium on new projects in what are called former extraterritorial jurisdictions, or ETJ areas. A new state law ended city oversight of the buffer zones, and it's allowing billboards to pop up in places like Ferndale. Public meetings will continue through the week and allow residents to weigh in on new land use plans.
Well, coming up, we're going to show you how Walmart is connecting entrepreneurs with small business owners, all to help them grow their business.
Temperatures have been very warm as of late, but look at the numbers the next few mornings. Waking up Thursday morning, the 50s, low 50s Friday morning in central Arkansas. So northern Arkansas will see some 40s. We get a nice cool shot of air, but we will warm back up. I'll have a look at your forecast if you're heading to the Arkansas State Fair and beyond on the way next.